The American Fork Cavemen and the Lone Peak Knights set to battle it out in Week 7 of the high school football season. And we mentioned it before we went to our first break, Brian, that this Lone Peak team, only 2-4, but much better than their record indicates. What are you most looking forward to seeing out of this talented roster with a lot of potential still?
Well, I think for Lone Peak, it's staying in the fight because they're going up against an American Fork team that's going to try and bully them off the field. You have to stay with the Cavemen through the first and second quarter, as that's when they do the bulk of their work scoring the football. And so for Lone Peak, it's about staying in the game, being consistent. And you talked about it. It is still a relatively young roster, JT. So for them, some consistency will go a long ways tonight.
American Fork won the toss. Lone Peak won the toss, elected to defer. And as for this Lone Peak Knights, one thing we do want to tell you about is Lone Peak football on the Rewind Sports Network on KSLSports.com is brought to you by Heidman and Associates, presented by GTG Bar.
All right, excited to have both those sponsors here presenting Lone Peak football tonight. Just want to mention Heidman Associates is a flat-rate law firm that is completely focused on you. Get a free consultation by calling 801-472-7742 or go to utah.law to find the office nearest you. JT, as we approach the kickoff here, I have to mention the crowd tonight is incredible. Not even cross town, but basically cross neighborhood rivals. I have a feeling that this is going to be a really electric atmosphere.
And it all begins right now on KSL Sports Rewind. Nearly a turnover as it's bobbled that time. Trey Robinson, who returned one 95 yards to the house just last week, won't get an opportunity there as it bounces off his helmet. A little bit of a miscommunication for the Knights.
Yeah, and sometimes as the sun starts to set a little earlier, you can misjudge the flight of the football a little bit early on. And maybe there's some nerves tonight for Lone Peak as well. Hard to say, but regardless, the Knights are going to start out on the 16-yard line, JT. Not a great position for them to be in, both on the field and versus this American Fork Caveman defense.
It was interesting pregame speaking with Coach Beam as well as Coach Brockbank. You know, Coach Brockbank wants to run the ball, have an efficient offense, and American Fork wants to force this Lone Peak team, stop the run, and force them into lots of third and wrongs. Isaac Staley starting hitting his stride as of last week a little bit. On this one, they give the pitch to Robinson, his most explosive receiver, and American Fork all over it on the outside. Cohen Evans.
Yes, they are. You mentioned it pregame, JT. Before we came on the air, American Fork in the all-white. It's almost a stormtrooper look there. And I tell you what, that was a terrifying defensive effort by the Cavemen. And again, anchored. Hard to say that there's a single group that really anchors it, but it's hard to ignore the work that the defensive line for the Cavemen puts in.
Segura led the team in tackles last week. Got the stop there. Brings up 2nd and 11 from the 15. Waki Fuyulongi and Blake Jensen each with 3 sacks on the season. Mentioned that ruckus crowd. Press box already beginning to shake a little bit, if that's any sign or indication. And, of course, Lone Peak's the one on offense, so it should be it for an interesting one. Staley drops back with time. High throw. Misses Robinson that time. Looks like Staley still trying to settle in here early.
A lot of white jerseys around what looked like the intended receiver there, Trey Robinson. And good on Staley to be looking for one of his more reliable wide receivers there early on in the ball game. Just needs to settle down, set up a little bit more, deliver the football. Obviously, a lot of white jerseys around there, too, as well, JT. He's going to really need to focus in on trying to go through his progressions tonight.
The junior Staley, the backup to start the season. The injury to Blake forced him in the starting lineup. He faces 3rd and long over the middle of the field. It's knocked down. Dax Watts knocks it down.
Yeah, Dax Watts has been phenomenal from the linebacker position all year long. You see him getting a paw on that one. Not able to get the full interception, but not a great start for this Lone Peak offense. Looks like some nerves, a little bit of miscommunication there early on. So an opportunity for them to get on the sideline, talk through that first series, and try to settle things down.
Cade Wilkinson waits at the 50 for the upcoming punt. Is the Knights team that began the high school football season in a Thursday night kickoff against Bingham. They won that one 27-7. Things haven't gone their way since. Snap over the head. Are they going to get it away? They won't. And it'll be a touchdown. Just like that, American Fork with the early success and score.
For American Fork, what a great start for the special teams unit. Able to fall on top of the football, get the touchdown. If you're a Lone Peak Knight, it's just a continuation of what was a tough start offensively. You see a mishandled snap, and at this level, I'm sure if you're sitting at home, you're screaming at the punter, just run out the back, run out the back. You get so much going on, sometimes it's hard to think about all that. And as we wait for the PAT, JT, boy, what a start. I believe it was American Fork.
Yeah, I believe it was Caleb Peterson who dove on top of that ball as the Cavemen put the PA2 through. They lead it 7-0 with 10:52 to go on KSL Sports Rewind. Back on the field.
Yeah, it's going to be a quick turnaround for Lone Peak, but it looks like they're going to be aided here, JT, by a very high kick, but not very far. And that's going to give them great field position at the 30-yard line. So whatever quick conversations they had, at the very least, they're catching a little bit of a break there, getting the ball back at the 30-yard line.
Yeah, Ashton Nickham didn't think he was going to end up catching that ball, but ends up bringing it in and gets it out to the 29 for his team. Couldn't have started much better for the American Fork defense.
Absolutely, and just for the fans at home who are wondering why that kick kind of hung up, there is a bit of a breeze kicking up here and there. You can see in the north end zone the flags are flying on occasion. So, like you mentioned, back to business for the Knights.
Staley fakes it to Wild. Everything well covered up. Staley just going to take off and run. Gets a gain of 3 on the play.
And it's a multi-level route there. You're trying to catch your underneath and your over-the-top route, and then the third kind of dragging underneath. And you can see just how effective this Caveman defense is. Number 5 over the top doing a good job forcing Staley to run out of bounds.
Yeah, good job by that time by Davis Andrews, of course, for American Fork, all over the field on both sides of the ball. And as for Staley, saw his first game action against Mountain Ridge. He was 4 for 8 for 38 yards. Then against Highland in that win was 7 for 17 for 93 yards. But last week, 130 yards. Coach Brockbank feels like he's trending in the right direction. 2 backs in the backfield here. Total broken play, and it ends up as a loss of yards for the Knights.
Yeah, just a slew of Cavemen defenders, as it was a similar action, but this time trying to get the QB into the run game, and Lucas Segura and many others involved in that one. Just a great job by that Caveman front to stop. I believe it was maybe Davis Allen was involved in that one.
So Lone Peak once again in 3rd and long. This is exactly what Coach Beam and the Cavemen wanted to put the Knights offense in, and Coach Brockbank talked about wanting to be efficient, avoid turnovers. It hasn't gone their way to start here. We'll see if they can sort it out. 3 receivers up top, 1 to the bottom of your screen. Cavemen only bring 3. Clean pocket for Staley. Airmails another, and it was juggled and then caught. How about the grab that time by Trey Robinson?
Boy, Trey may stand for the number of seconds that he hung in the air on that one, as it was 1, 2, 3, and double clutch that catch for a first down. Great job by Staley to stand in the pocket, get the ball into his, I'll call him his most sure-handed receiver in Trey Robinson. I don't know if the stats maybe tell us differently, but great job by him to stand in the pocket, get the ball to Robinson, and get the chains moving. This is exactly what Lone Peak needs to do. They need to start moving the ball.
Staley with 354 yards and 4 touchdowns coming into this game through the air. Wild gets his first carry, and he'll gain 3 until he's swung down that time by Caleb Peterson.
And not a big gain here, but it's just movement on first down, and that offensive unit for Lone Peak needs to get a rhythm going, mostly to help Staley settle down. He's a very heralded player, talented, young sophomore, big athlete at 6'5", 205. He's a junior.
2nd and 7 from the 42 is going to be backed up after the false start there. And, mentioned some injuries Lone Peak has. One thing they are fortunate to have back, at least from when we last were on this field, Brian, is one of the top tackles in the country in Austin Pay, protecting Staley's blind side.
Yeah, Pay is a big, both literally and figuratively, part of the game plan there. Good to have him back after an early season injury. And again, the more rhythm that this Lone Peak offense can generate, the longer they can keep American Fork on the field, the better it's going to be for them to stay in this football game after the early miscue.
Staley once again supported by 2 backs. 2nd and 12. He's given time. The blitz is picked up, and Robinson creates the separation and gets the yardage back and then some off the false start.
Oh, I tell you what, if I'm a quarterback, I want a wide receiver like Trey Robinson. The way he runs his routes, the way he can elevate for the football, does a great job of securing the catch, getting both feet in bounds, and getting them into 3rd and average, right? 3rd and brown bear, about 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 here. And look, that's a doable thing. It's okay to be average as long as you hit your goal, which is a touchdown.
3rd and 5 from the 44 of the Knights. American Fork show pressure. They bring it. Staley finds Wild wide open in the middle of the field. Brooks Wild breaking free. Gets it across the 25 before he's dragged down. Wild gets loose at Knights Field.
Just a great call by Coach Bank and his staff as they find Wild wide open. And he's a wild animal out there in the middle of the field, JT. Hurdling and bumbling and stumbling and rushing all the way to the Caveman side of the 22-yard line.
Wow,
Lone Peak, first down.
Yeah, wow, the versatile back, over 230 yards rushing on the season and also over 130 yards receiving. Also has 2 touchdowns through the air. Sees make his impact there. They'll go right back to him. Wild. Nice cuts. Keeps the legs churning. Gets the first down and then some. Brooks Wild starting to take over.
Momentum is such a major factor in these games, JT. You see it on the stage. Wild breaks the game open on a big play. Very next play, hand the ball off to him, and it's a 10-yard gain. Now all of a sudden it's the American Fork Cavemen that are feeling the pressure, and it's all Knights here in this second series.
Misiona Patongi also in that time doing a good job getting push up front for Lone Peak. 1st and 10 from the 14. They give it on the ground. It's another strong gain for Gabriel Tom, now getting the carry.
What a 1-2 combination there for Lone Peak as you see Tom take the inside handoff and cut back against the grain. You've got Lone Peak here at 1st and goal now, and they are G2G. JT, they're good to go right now if you're a Lone Peak Knights fan.
Yeah, ball officially on the 3 now. Lone Peak, a really successful drive. And what a response, driving down the field after turning it over in their own end zone on the punt. Wild, the lone back. Robinson in single coverage at the top of your screen. Staley in the gun. Gives to Wild. Wild is met. Although he kept the legs moving, he'll be stopped short at the 1.
You see he gets his legs wrapped up a little bit there, so not able to drive the pile like he was last time. But you like the early play call on 1st and goal from Lone Peak. They're just inches away from the goal line here, JT.
Gary Trowbridge in this offense have the Knights in position to score. Staley on the sneak. And the Knights waiting for a signal. Taking a long time. I mean, from our angle, looked like a score, but we're still waiting at the moment to see if Staley crossed the plane, and he did! Lone Peak crosses the goal line for the score.
What a great response by the Lone Peak Knights. You see Staley digs down deep, sneaks it across the goal line, stays behind that powerful offensive line, and even more powerful was that response and that drive from Lone Peak as they're about to even the score pending the PAT.
Adam Connors, strong place kicker for the Knights squad. Ties the game off the PAT. All tied up with 6:03 to go on KSL Sports Rewind.
Whoever's in it.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Lone Peak Football on the Rewind Sports Network on KSLSports.com, brought to you by Heidemann and Associates and presented by G2G Bar. Reminder that Rewind Sports is brought to you by Igloo Outfitters, the coziest wearable sleeping bags have you covered during those chilly days and nights. Worry no more about the weather and watch your favorite team in comfort with Igloo Outfitters. Go to igloooutfitters.com and enter Rewind for $20 off. Never miss the moments. That's promo code REWIND.
So what a response by the Lone Peak offense, and we're nearly halfway through the first quarter, and we finally get to see one of the state's most potent offenses so far in 2023, the American Fork Cavemen.
Yeah, just an early off-script maybe performance here. So I guess the NFL loaned out the script writers for the week for our game, but regardless, JT, we finally get a chance to see this American Fork offense, just a grind it out kind of offense.
They give it to Eardley, and Eardley rewards them with a gain that just is past the first down marker. Eardley picking up where he left off because last week against Lehigh, 181 yards and 4 touchdowns.
That's exactly what they want to do, is get Eardley going on the ground early on. You'll see others mix in as well. Sometimes Dax Watts in the backfield there. Very rarely do you see Dylan Story ever pull it. But you open up the game and allow the pass game to be more devastating, I guess, when you have the ground game going. You see there, not a lot going for American Fork in Eardley's second carry.
Lone Peak with a nice response that time after being pushed around by the interior of the Caveman front on the first carry. And you mentioned once Eardley gets going, it really allows Story to operate. Story in last week's game against Lehigh, 349 yards, 3 touchdowns, 19 for 21 passing.
I believe the kids call that light work, JT. I'll have to double check with you as you're a little bit younger than I am. But we've really seen Story emerge as one of the better quarterbacks in the state. Started off at Roy. We had the privilege to call that game. Now on our third, I guess, Dylan Story experience here with the Cavemen.
Story facing 2nd and 9. Eardley gets it again. And another gap created by American Fork's offensive line.
Yeah, there's a massive hole for Eardley there, and just a little bit off of where he's normally aiming there. It took him just a second to recognize and read it. Otherwise, he might have broken that one for even more, JT.
AF back to the line quickly. It's a crowded box of Knights, but it hasn't been a problem for the Cavemen early. They try to get the Knights to jump off sides. Good job that time. Staying steady by Lone Peak. 3rd and 3. Eardley gets it again. Eardley fighting. And it's going to be close. Depends on the spot.
It's going to be very, very close, but it does look like he got it, JT. That extra effort driving the defenders, gets in the first down, and even more so keeps this drive going for American Fork. Seeing Bob Mulatalo run off the field. Good to see him back in there on that play, JT. The phenomenal sophomore, been injured a little bit this year. Trying to provide them with a little spark.
So sensational with 3 sacks in the first game of the season against Bingham, one of the top 100 players in the class of 2026. Story wants it all, loads up, looks deep, and it's brought in. American Fork with the explosive play, Davis Andrews.
No surprise there, as there's number 5 in the pattern for American Fork. Pops up with the first down sign. Another no-doubter for Davis. And American Fork is cooking inside the 20-yard line.
The first pass of the game for Story, an immense success. All tied at 7 with under 4 to go here. 1st and 10 from the 18. Story keeps it, looks, and a one-handed grab made, and staying on his feet, going towards the end zone. Dragged out of bounds just short is Josh Andrus.
Yeah, and for those who are listening at home, there is Davis Andrews. But don't forget about Josh Andrus, the do-it-all tight end, number 8, seeing the one-hander. Got those sticky mitts out there, able to secure the ball and get down inside the 10-yard line now. 1st and goal for American Fork, JT.
It was all run plays early, and this is what we've seen from American Fork. Now, Story got to be close to or over 50 yards passing. 1st and goal, at the 3. Eardley gets it on the ground. Tries to keep his legs moving, but he'll be stopped short at the 1.
Yeah, great job by, I believe it was the linebacker on the outside there. I think it looks like Jackson Arrington was the one who flew in to get low on Eardley, and that's really the best way to stop Jacob Eardley. You've got to tackle him low, stop those powerful legs from driving inside.
Arrington had 2 pick sixes in the win over Highland. Going to need to make a big defensive play if the Knights want to stay. Prevent the Cavemen from scoring. Story under heavy pressure has to just throw it just off of the outstretched hands of Dax Watts.
He was, and it was Jackson Arrington again. He brought a friend along, and Jaden Mayberry is the number 1, number 8 combo, provides the pressure, and now all of a sudden it was looking really rosy for the American Fork Cavemen. It's a 3rd and goal on what is essentially the 1-yard line.
Ryan Denny, the Knights DC, OC for American Fork, Micah Hunsaker. We'll see what the Cavemen off to do here. They go back to their bread and butter and get in the end zone. Eardley back in the end zone.
Power Power football is back, folks. Not enough yardage for an angry run, but an early run for sure. As Jacob dances into the end zone for 6. American Fork regains the lead, JT, and we've got a back and forth game happening right in front of our eyes. I feel like has potential to be a great one.
Definitely off to a promising start. American Fork wants to continue to make sure it's promising with the PAT. It's good. Cavemen go the distance and score. They lead it by a touchdown on KSL Sports Rewind. We'll come back in. American Fork responds after the Knights had a long drive with a long drive of their own, and then the early Lone Peak turnover, the reason for this 14-7 score. Another high-flying kick. Robinson bounces ahead of it. Oh my goodness, what a hit. That'll be a flag. Robinson shakes off one tackle before he swung down.
This one's going to be, I think, a targeting or at least an unnecessary roughness, as we see Lone Peak special teamer goes a little bit high on that one. I don't think that was intentional, JT. With the ball bouncing the way it is, he's trying to react, just not able to adjust and get inside the targeting zone. Oh, okay. I actually agree with the official here waving off on that flag. I didn't feel like that was one of those ones that really warranted a penalty, and regardless, really the outcome for Lone Peak is starting inside their own 20-yard line. We saw last time it was 3 bad plays and a bad punt. See what the offense can do after getting a touchdown.
Yeah, the bummer that time for Nawahine, who had that epic block as the flag was still on the play, so won't look as good on his huddle reel. Staley under immense pressure finds a way to escape it. The junior making things happen and has a receiver open who breaks a tackle and gets a nice gain. It's Seth Haskett.
Yeah, nice job by Haskett to avoid the first defender, but an even better job there by Staley to avoid the rush, get outside, and throw the ball to a playmaker. Gets a few more extra yards than he probably would have gotten if he tried to rush it himself, JT. Nice job there by the junior signal caller.
We talked about it to begin the broadcast. Coach Brockbank said to us pregame, he feels like Staley is feeling more comfortable and thought he played pretty well overall last week against a really tough Pleasant Grove team. We're starting to see that play out here. Set up 2nd and 3 on what probably would have been 2nd and 11 if he wasn't able to avoid the sack. And that time they'll get nothing on the ground.
Yeah, Tom in there on the handoff, just not able to get a movement inside the pile. You see multiple offensive linemen pulling, trying to get angles. Just can't get enough to get the first down, and it's going to be 3rd and very short here for Lone Peak.
3rd and 1. Lone Peak looking to stay on the field. Once again, 2 backs flanking Staley. Cavemen crowd the line with bodies, nearly jump offside. Lone Peak looks to the sideline. Play clock down to 7. Now it's 6. Staley looks set. He's got to snap it down to 3. Gets it off, gives to Wild. Wild dragged down from behind. The Cavemen come up clutch.
They were ready for it, JT. To see everybody on the American Fork defense rushing to tackle the ball carrier on that one. It looked like it was led by Tyson Hagan on that one. Great job by the big linebacker to get in there quick. And a critical stop for American Fork as they just marched down the field and put up a touchdown to go 3 and out for Lone Peak. Just not enough time to give your defense to rest.
Lone Peak looking to get right in the punting game after what happened on their first punt, which resulted in a Cavemen touchdown. Snap this time on target. Punt is good, and it's really good too. It's brought in eventually by Wilkinson behind the 30, and it'll be dragged down at the 35.
Nice job by the punt coverage team there. Not exactly sure who it was on the far sideline that made the tackle, but a great tackle as well. I believe maybe hard to get a number on that. Might have been number 54. Not entirely sure. Regardless, JT, love the coverage, especially on a booming kick like that.
doTERRA is a proud sponsor of Lone Peak football. doTERRA's products help athletes around the world maintain the highest level of health and wellness. Learn more about how you can up your health and wellness game at doTERRA.com. American Fork starts this drive at their own 36. Story gives it to Erdley. Tough tackle made that time on the front 7.
Great job there to tackle Erdley as he's tackled by Junior Tahi on the play, the phenomenal junior linebacker. And it's rare that you see Jacob Erdley go down with one hit, but that just tells you how good a player Tahi really is.
American Fork's offensive line has been really impressive early, too, led by their center, Taven Jensen. Also Andrew Brady making plays. The look to the outside. Jet Nelson with his first grab of the day, and he's not getting much. The Knights collapse on him quickly. Easton Anderson with the stop.
Yeah, great job by Anderson and mates out there to get Jet Nelson out of the pattern early. One of those plays where you're trying to use his athleticism to get some yak, JT. Nothing doing, and now Lone Peak sits with a 3rd and 5 on defense.
And we're going to go into the second quarter. It's been an action-packed opening at Knights Field. Come back for us for the rest of the first half on KSL Sports Rewind. On KSL Sports Rewind between the Knights and Cavemen. One of the presenting sponsors of Knights football is G2G, helping busy people eat well when they're on the go. Fresh, healthy, and delicious. When you eat one, you'll know.
JT, we're about to find out if this Lone Peak Knights defense is G2G right now, as they've got American Fork in about 3rd and 5 and a chance to get the ball back here at the start of the second quarter.
Story drops back. He's protected, tries to step up, and he's taken down.
Didn't ever really have a chance to do anything on that one, JT. It looked like it was a quarterback draw, and a great job by that Lone Peak defensive line to sniff it out early. And they'll get the ball back here, JT, with reasonably good field position as American Fork's going to punt it, but it didn't look like Lone Peak had time to sub in their punt return unit.
Junior Tahi, one of several Knights in on the big sack there. First time we've seen American Fork punt today. It's a low wobbler, but it gets a positive bounce, and it'll end up rolling out of bounds perfectly at the 25.
Always a scary situation with those. But you know what's not scary, JT? Crumble Cookies in American Fork and Linden bringing friends and family together over a box of the best cookies in the world. Also, don't forget, Tire Factory, Point S. No stress with Point S Tire and Auto Service. Tire Factory, Point S in American Fork. Ideal kitchen and bath. Do it once. Do it right. Tech 9. Tech Happily with Tech 9, where Utah goes for custom software development. Just some of the great sponsors here of Lone Peak football.
14-7, Knights get it back on their own 25. Give to Brooks Wild. Wild's able to make the first man miss, but not the second. American Fork all over it.
Yeah, this Caveman defense is so good at flying to the football, JT. And if you're one of those coaches watching at home, this is what you want your defense to look like. If you're coaching Little Leagues, this is what you want your Little Leaguers to do. Just fly to the football. So just in case that first man misses, there's another one there to limit the damage.
Ryan Takao in on the stop, doing a good job holding up the Knights blocker that time. 10:45 to go in the second quarter. Staley looked really comfortable on that previous drive, or 2 previous drives ago. Last one did make a nice play with his legs to extend a drive. Pressured instantly, and he swung down. Blake Jensen, his 4th sack of the season.
Great job by Jensen on that one as he beat 2 Lone Peak offensive linemen. Neither of them could get a clear hit on him, and Jensen just goes right to Staley. Even jars the ball loose a little bit there. That's a big sack for American Fork. Pushes Lone Peak all the way back to the 18-yard line.
3rd and 17 officially for Lone Peak. What a play by Jensen that time, and this is an American Fork defensive line I know you're a big fan of, Brian.
Yeah, it's a great defensive unit. They play together, they play well. Not the biggest, not the strongest, but they just play aggressively.
Staley going to keep it on the quarterback draw on 3rd and forever, and eventually he's taken down. The tackle in space made by Caleb Peterson.
Yeah, and he almost had more yards on that one than even the almost 10 that he got. Cut outside, had a lineman there. If he could have just cut inside of him, might have gotten an additional 5 or 6 yards. But regardless, some of the damage subsided here for Lone Peak, and they'll get an opportunity to punt this one deep. Saw the very first miscue, JT. Since then, been much more evened out for the Knights.
And I think American Fork had to burn a timeout. An unfortunate situation that time, Brian. And I know what's not unfortunate is all the great sponsors we have supporting us and Lone Peak Football on the Rewind Sports Network.
That's right, JT. And Lone Peak Football is brought to you by Cavemen and Associates and presented by G2G Bar. But additionally, they're brought to you by Tile Ram. Start your remodel right with dust-free demolition. That's Tile Ram. So don't forget Black Desert, remarkable within reach, legacy power, smart energy solutions for a better future, and a little company called Walmart. Yeah. Just a Utah Canada original. Save money, live better at Walmart. Also, want to feel like yourself again, JT?
I would.
Yeah, Founded in Wellness has a simplified program just for you and those listening at home, To learn how to lose weight, regain energy, balance hormones, and get restful sleep, go to foundedinwellness.com for a free consult. Get back to action here.
Tough for American Fork to have to burn a timeout there. You know, those are the kind of issues that usually pop up in week 1. Can't imagine Coach Beam was pleased about that here in week 7.
Yeah, they've been such a reliable team, JT. You don't see that from them very often, so just add fuel to that fire for Coach.
How about that punt? Lone Peak. Wilkinson gets it all the way back at the 20. He's able to get back to the 25 until he's dragged down. But that booming blast made for American Fork by Segura.
Just an incredible kick.
Michael Peterson. I got confused as Segura was surely playing.
Yeah, Segura's over there on the far side. Like, he's probably amazed by it as well for American Fork. And Peterson doing just a phenomenal job of flipping the field for Lone Peak here tonight after the early miscue. Great job by him to respond, go out and perform well. And now you're going to see this Lone Peak defense with an opportunity to get a 3 and out. That would be huge for them, JT.
Bob Mulitalo and the Lone Peak defensive line came up huge last time with that stop on 3rd down. 9:02 to go. Eardley gets it on the ground, and he's eventually dragged down. Good job that time by Mulitalo, and also in on the stop was Jackson Arrington.
Yeah, and you see Mulitalo giving the no yards given up sign as he walks away from that one. He did a great job of taking on the lead blocker on the pole, collapsing that gap before it could even form. And then you have a player like Jackson Arrington able to fly to the football. Very difficult to run against that.
Great crowd on this hand for this matchup between Region 3, formerly Region 4 foes. Story to Eardley. Great push by American Fork's offensive line. They are 5 yards down the field holding their blocks before Eardley was dragged down, setting up what's going to be 3rd and manageable.
Yeah, the only reason that Eardley got touched there is because somebody finally came from the secondary and tried to leg tackle him. Skips out of that one, able to pick up a few more yards on that one. Get this one to 3rd and, I guess we can call this 3rd and Brown Bear.
Call it 3rd and 3 with 8:03 to go. Story and the Cavemen offense get up to the line quickly. Lone Peak is ready for the Eardley give. They're all over it. How about the response by Lone Peak?
Well, that's exactly what Lone Peak needed to do. Not fooled by the draw play whatsoever. Whatever movement American Fork was able to get that time, Lone Peak able to slip some blocks. And now they'll get the ball back with about a little under 8 minutes here. And a chance to get another drive going and hopefully get some points.
Matthias Navwahine back for it. Cavemen special teams stay sharp. Ball's drilled straight in the air wisely. A fair catch caught for, and we'll pick this drive up at the 37. Want to remind you, Lone Peak Football on the Rewind Sports Network on KSLSports.com is brought to you by Heidman and Associates and presented by GTG Bar. Heisman and Associates is a flat rate law firm that is completely focused on you. Get a free consultation by calling 801-472-7742 or go to utah.law to find the office nearest you. Lone Peak with 7:15 to go, looking to tie it up here. The Knights defense has really started to step up. The offense has had one really strong drive, and now Staley under immense pressure. Oh, nearly threw a pick six, Brian.
Ooh. A lot of action on that one. Staley just doesn't go through the play action quickly enough. Feels that pressure from the backside, and Looked like he almost found more American Fork defenders than he did his own player on that one, JT. As you mentioned, it would have been open territory for Zane Edwards had he been able to secure that one.
Staley tried to make a play, maybe one he should have tossed away. We'll see if he makes a different read coming up later in the game. 7:08 to go. Staley with time. Tom gets it, and honestly, that might be okay because it probably would have been a loss of yardage and a thunderous hit for the Cavemen.
Yeah, Edwards pulled up a little bit there as he was going after
Tom that time.
Tom on that one, and you can see Staley's just a little bit off right now, and really when he was most effective, it wasn't throwing side to side. It was a little bit more downfield where he could get a better angle on the throw. Unfortunately, now a 3rd and long, he's going to have to really fit the ball into a tight window because American Fork's going to be expecting to pass on this
Trey
one.
Robinson, his favorite target at the bottom of your screen, Zane Edwards covering him up. Staley looks left, steps up, evades the sack, downfield, throws it back across his body, and Wild is brought down by American Fork.
Well, you see the effect that the American Fork pass rush has on Staley, right? He bails out of the pocket early on that one, didn't necessarily need to get out of the way, as big man Connor Pay had his back. Nevertheless, gets some yardage on it, finds a completion. That's something to build on as you go into the next series, but I hate to say seeing ghost, JT, because there's nothing ghoulish about this American Fork defense. It is real, and it is ferocious.
A lot of punts so far in the second quarter with about 6:20 to go here. Good job by Segura on the previous stop to force this 4th down punt. Seen a lot of Wilkinson early. This one will take a bounce. And a really good bounce for Lone Peak because they'll be able to down it at the 16. And Brian, I don't know about you, but these fall nights, it's starting to get a little chilly.
Yeah, the chill has definitely hit, JT. And you know what you need when it gets cold? That's Igloo Outfitters. The coziest wearable sleeping bag has you covered during these chilly days and nights. Worry no more about the weather and watch your favorite team in comfort with Igloo Outfitters. Go to igloooutfitters.com and enter promo code REWIND for $20 off. Never miss the moments. That's IGLU Outfitters. Just want to thank our presenting sponsor, G2G, helping busy people eat well when they're on the go. Fresh, healthy, and delicious. When you eat one, you'll know. G2G.
Story. Quick throw to Andrews on the outside, and Lone Peak quick to the ball that time, Brian.
Yeah, not only quick to the ball, JT, but doing a terrific job of fighting off the blocks. See Matthias Nuahine over there getting in on the stop, but that secondary, Jaden Mayberry was involved in that one as well. Just a great job. I like the action from Coach Beam to try and get the hands into Davis Andrews, but Lone Peak was having nothing to do with it.
Passing game's been a little quiet since that first drive. We'll see if they go back to it on this play. Instead, back to Eardley. Oh, he's buried. Nice stop by the Knights in the backfield. Easton Anderson comes flying in.
Boy, Easton Anderson, you said it, JT, just flies into the backfield. Nothing doing, not fooled one single bit by it. Great call by defensive coordinator Ryan Denny. For those who are native to the Utah County area or potential BYU fans, Denny, a legend, former Cougar. He's also becoming a legend in terms of being the defensive coordinator here at Lone Peak.
3rd and 8, Story, high throw to Andrews. Lone Peak forces another 3 and out.
Great job by the Lone Peak defense. Great job to force the 3 and out, get the ball back, and now you've got an opportunity to get another drive going. Hopefully, JT, less ghosts this time and more go for that Lone Peak offense.
Kyle Lott back to punt, the senior. See 2 players back for Lone Peak in case the punt is short and potentially the punt goes long. Jaden Mayberry. Be fair, caught at the 41.
Boy, it's tough, man. He had some room to run there. You like the fact that Nuahine secures the catch on that one. Just that's one of those situations where you realize how artful the skill of returning punts is. We'll talk about artful. doTERRA is a proud sponsor of Lone Peak football. doTERRA's products help athletes around the world maintain the highest level of health and wellness. Learn more about how you can up your health and wellness game at doTERRA.com.
Both these defenses have really stepped up in the second quarter. And, of course, the Cavemen already with 1 defensive touchdown. Staley off the play action. Too high on the delivery. It's kind of been a theme for him here a little bit early, although that was well covered by American Fork.
It was, and I wonder if maybe Staley kind of pulled the trigger on that throw a little too early as he had Robinson on the outside. I think he saw him in the last second. Maybe tried to put a little too much on it and get it to Robinson, but nevertheless, we're going to go second and long here for Lone Peak. And American Fork's done a great job, but anytime Trey Robinson's on the field, JT, you got to be aware.
Currently at the bottom of your screen, Staley coming off his highest passing game of the season. Quick slant that time is successful. Mayberry makes the quick grab.
Nice job by Mayberry to sit down quickly in the zone. American Fork giving plenty of cushion. They're willing to concede 6 yards on that one to get him to 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. They've had great effect on 3rd down. Staley has been evolving, we'll say.
I like it. Hoffines with the quick grab there. Says 3rd and 4. Got to be at least 3rd and 5 to 3rd and 6 even potentially. Staley on the drop. Pressure breaks in. Pumps once. Slings it. It's caught. Lone Peak into the red zone. Making moves after bringing in the big gainer is Deshaun Mayberry.
JT, I want to give it a highlight call for the ages, but you can hear the disappointment in my voice. There's a flag on the field.
Do you agree with this call? Do you think it's holding?
I do not know what it is. It does look
holding
like
on the defense.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and drop the highlight. What a job by Staley with a double clutch. I love it. Hang in the pocket, be tough, deliver the strike. And Jashawn Mayberry knows what to do with it, and he gets the rock in his hands, and it's nothing but open field. And Lone Peak's cooking now, JT. They might be crumble cooking right now.
Staley with 6'5" height, got that long wingspan. You can see the ball go on the pump fake to your point, Brian, and 3:40 now to go in this one.
As the chains get set up, JT, Crumble Cookies and American Fork in Linden, bringing friends and family together over a box of the best cookies in the world. You and I know what that's like. Been together on many games, over many cookies. Decided to call one more with you tonight.
Yeah, it's been a fun one so far. See what Lone Peak can do. 1st and 10, they give it to Wild, and a lot of American Fork players occupying the line of scrimmage.
American Fork's done a really good job of responding after the big plays and trying to limit the actions in the run game for Lone Peak. Outside of the one drive where Lone Peak scored, they really haven't found a lot of space in the run game. And a lot of it is due in part to that phenomenal front seven for American Fork. See what they can do. Lone Peak can still get a 1st down, 2nd and 10, but they're here at the 12-yard line, JT, kind of in that weird zone where it's like, can you get a 1st down but not score? We'll see.
Very comfortable winding the clock. In fact, only 3 seconds left. Staley's got to get it off. Pressure comes in his face. Quick throw, and Davis Andrews shows why he's a Power 5 player as he flies in and breaks that one up.
Call that man Timex because he is on the dot on time for the hit with that one. You can see why Davis Andrews is so highly coveted by Utah, BYU, Notre Dame. I bet every team in the West would take Davis Andrews at this point. Just a great football player, great young man. And as it looks like the Knights take a timeout here, JT. Talk this one over, 3rd and 10.
Lone Peak will take a timeout. And as a reminder, Lone Peak football on the Rewind Sports Network on KSLSports.com is brought to you by Heidman and Associates, presented by G2G Bar. And speaking of G2G, they're helping busy people eat well when they're on the go. Fresh, healthy, and delicious. When you eat one, you'll know. G2G makes fresh, healthy, and delicious grab-and-eat food for busy people. With all the natural ingredients, no preservations, and plenty of proteins, G2G bars are perfect for anyone who needs a quick, tasty, and nutritious boost. Whether you have to get your team ready for the big Friday night game or your own team ready for that big meeting, that's what G2G bars are for. Experts who develop the perfect G2 bars are passionate about nutrition, but they also understand the world's healthiest bars are worthless if they taste like cardboard. That's why you'll always find G2G bars in the refrigeration section, made with fresh and familiar ingredients, crafted into delicious combinations that make it fun and easy to eat healthy no matter where your busy life takes you. 3rd and 10. Staley alone in the backfield. Cavemen bring pressure. Staley running for his life, looking left, throws it, and it's brought in, but short of the sticks.
Staley completes to Luke Christensen.
Flag on the field after the grab that time by Luke Christensen.
It's on the far side of the field on the hash mark, almost in the backfield. I'm curious to see what this call is going to be. Looks like the white hat is talking to Lone Peak, pointing at the spot of the ball. I think this one might go against the Cavemen. Listen, that's the best part about calling games on Friday night, JT. There's always a surprise from this officiating crew that keeps me on my toes. Looks like maybe they're still on their toes as in regards to what they want to do here. We still haven't seen an actual sign. We've seen conversations with multiple officials. We've seen conversations with American Fork. Okay.
And it'll lead to Lone Peak backing up.
So now that would have been the most obvious call, is the holding in the backfield. Like you mentioned, Staley trying to evade the pressure. In those situations, you just want to give your defender a hug sometimes, JT. I don't know why they have to be so mean to these offensive linemen.
Adam Connors has the leg to make this. He's made one from 40-plus yards in the season opener, but you really want to get a touchdown on this one, Brian, and they got a long way to go. It's now 3rd and 20 for the junior Staley.
Yeah, 2 minutes left. You really want to get this one in the back of the end zone if you can. And you got double twins here in the formation for Lone Peak.
American Fork brings the outside blitz. Robinson grabs it at the 20, able to shake out a one tackle down the sideline. Robinson diving for the end zone, and he is ruled out of bounds. He's ruled out of bounds. Wow. Oh, the official had a good angle on the sideline, but that is a tough for Robinson, and it will actually, it's not even a first down. It'll set up 4th and I believe 1, Brian. What a sequence.
I was already out of breath because what a catch by Trey Robinson! Goes up top, evades the defender, gets down the end zone. Man, if this sport really were written by writers, JT, that would have been a touchdown all the way for Trey Robinson. Now, even more critical, 4th down for Lone Peak. They have to get this. They have to get a touchdown here.
American Fork with a lot of bodies in the box, and I believe we'll see a timeout by the Knights. Got to talk this one over. How are you playing it if you're Lone Peak, Brian?
If I'm Lone Peak, I think really what we want to do is we want to make sure that we got the right matchups and that we're in the right
you want to be in the right situation.
Formation. Got the right call, that everybody's dialed in on the same page. And listen, with under 2 minutes to play, you don't need the timeouts at this point in time. This game has not been to the point to where you're going to get the ball back. We haven't seen that many short drives, and you know that Coach Beam's going to take the time off the clock. So the biggest thing you want to do here is make sure that you convert on 4th and 1. But really, this is your 4th and goal. I mean, it is only 1 yard, but you really need to try and get the ball in the end zone regardless. So good idea by Coach Brockbank, Coach Trowbridge. Talk it over, make sure they're all on board, on the same page, make sure they know everything that they saw when they came out.
Waki Fui Longi, Orion Tokau on the interior for the Cavemen. 4th and 2, Lone Peak, gotta have it. Staley, before he got it off the timeout, you can see Coach Beam come flying in at the top of your screen that time, and obviously Lone Peak was going to pass there. American Fork probably thought it was going to be a run. Coach Beam decides to take the timeout.
A little bit of gamesmanship maybe from Coach Beam there, waiting till the very last second to call that timeout so you could see the action. You're going to force Coach Brockbank and Coach Strobridge to dip back into their bag for this one. And JT, if you're Lone Peak, I like the action really. I think Staley's been much more successful rolling to the left and getting outside the pocket where he feels a little bit more comfortable. You can see a junior who's not taking a lot of reps at the varsity level, standing in that pocket when there are so many American Fork defenders flying at you. You mentioned stormtroopers. It's almost like a blizzard out there at times, and blizzard with red numbers, unfortunately. Like the call from Coach Beam. Get your defense on the right page. Maybe force Lone Peak to think about the decision a little bit more here.
American Fork with only 1 timeout now. They had to burn one earlier on a punting issue for them. Knights line up.
Stacked in the box here for American Fork.
Staley looks. Robinson can't make the grab. Lone Peak will turn it over on downs, and American Fork will take over.
Boy, JT, I have to say, I think Coach Beam did a great job in that one, using gamesmanship to his advantage. I thought the call that they had earlier gave Lone Peak a lot better opportunity on that one. Seen Staley trying to make those angled throws. It's super difficult, and even so, Robinson's so sure-handed. Just can't reel that one in, and boy, what a stand for American Fork there at the goal line. Ish, thanks to the call from the official. I don't want to get in any kind of trouble here by saying anything on the broadcast.
Oh, the great play by Staley to Robinson. Erased. But only one timeout for American Fork, and at least because of Lone Peak's successful drive, going to be a lot harder for the Cavemen with only 1:44 to work with. They'll go to Erdley, and Lone Peak, ever since that first drive, really, Brian, really stepped up and stopped the run.
They have. They've done a nice job of closing up those gaps, staying in control of the run game, really. And as we look at the clock here, under 1:30, JT, it'll be interesting to see. I don't believe that Lone Peak, I think Lone Peak has one timeout left. So American Fork's going to try and take this down as far as they possibly can. Lone Peak may actually get the ball back here.
And American Fork gets it to start the second half. So we'll see how that factors into things. I believe the Knights only with one timeout left, and nearly a safety. Erdley barely gets out of the end zone, and now we will see Lone Peak signal for the safety. I thought for a second they were signaling for timeout, but wanted the safety that time. And we will see the timeout actually come in, flying in late there. So 56 seconds left. It's going to set up 3rd and 12, and this will be from the 1. Ooh, that was close for the Cavemen, Brian.
It was very close for American Fork, and if you're Coach Beam, you're going to talk to your offensive line and your offensive unit in this timeout. It's almost a benefit to American Fork in a way, because that offensive unit didn't look like they were in control of the situation. A safety there, JT, would have been huge. Not only do you get the 2 points on the board, but then American Fork would have had to punt the ball or kick the ball back to Lone Peak. Would have given them an opportunity to at the very least get into field goal position. Regardless, they're going to get the ball back here, I think, with maybe a few seconds left after 3rd down. I don't know. We'll see how it all works out, because it is the 40-second clock that starts.
Got one timeout.
Yeah, so they do have one timeout left, so they'll be able to stop the clock as well.
We've done a lot of high school press conferences you and I have been to. They don't have the luxury of updating the timeouts for us throughout it, so I understand that.
Last week, our scoreboard was actually speaking a different language to us throughout the most of the game. So always grateful to have you here on the broadcast to keep me inside the lines on this one. But regardless, this is a critical play. Lone Peak's going to get the ball back here with several seconds, plenty of time to operate, and likely really good field position. And also, they have Trey Robinson.
We saw him make a huge play the last time the Knights were on the field. Story deep in his own end zone. Lone Peak nearly at a safety. They'll bring 5. It's picked up. Lofted it out. Andrews running deep and slightly overthrown that time. And because it's incomplete, stops the clock. Knights saved that timeout.
They did. And listen, the save timeout is one thing, JT, but really I think American Fork had nothing else to go to on that one but to just kind of sit back and let it rip. We saw what happened in the run game. They certainly weren't going to risk that again. So I actually do like the call from Coach Beam. What becomes dangerous now, JT, is you've got less than 10 yards to operate here. If you're the American Fork punt unit, this becomes very dangerous territory.
Lott gets it away. Booming punt. Nawahine crosses the 50, got blockers in front of him. Lone Peak doing a good job, and they'll get it at about the 37. So the Knights came up just short in heartbreaking fashion, but still with an opportunity. 37 seconds left. Of course, the clock stops as you get a first down and that one timeout. And we just saw Lone Peak make not one, but 2 big plays through the passing game on that previous drive.
Yeah, and listen, not a great offensive position at all for American Fork on that one. But I'll tell you what, it was almost worse on the special teams there, JT, if not for Jacob Nelson. He went through multiple blockers, kept his feet through multiple Lone Peak blockers on that one, was able to get downfield and force Nawahine out at the 37 or into a tackle at the 37. Great job by him.
5 out for Staley. It's just a 3-man rush for the Cavemen. Oh, that one was nearly caught by Robinson. Couldn't tell if it was deflected by Edwards there, but nice play by American Fork, and it was nearly a big play for the Knights.
Yeah, it did look like Robinson lost the ball a little bit as it went through the hands of Edwards there. And just, boy, great ball by Staley, and great job standing up in the pocket and delivering the strike. You know, you've got plenty of time left on the clock, so not as much an issue here if you're Lone Peak, but this spread-out look causing problems for the American Fork defense.
Might have been Staley's best throw of the day to this point, but unfortunately, all goes for naught. 2nd and 10 with 33 seconds left. Great time for Staley. Oh, he's looking deep, and it's going to be intercepted in the end zone. Taking it away is Caleb Peterson.
Interception by Caleb Peterson of the Cavemen.
Trying to go deep to his speedster there, and just out-throws everybody but the safety for American Fork. Peterson, just a disappointing way for that one to turn around. You're looking for Logan Hoffines there, I think, on the deep ball.
Oh, and that's one, if you're Peterson, you'd love to go down in the end zone, but, you know, trying to make a player return a little bit, he'll get taken down. Right now, what is the one? I think the discussion about whether or not he got out of the end zone, you can't take a knee here, Brian. You got to get a yard if you're American Fork.
Yeah, Lone Peak still got the timeout on the board as well, JT. Just a real calamity of mistakes here on both sides of both teams, both sides, right, in these pressure situations as part of these younger players learning how to play in critical situations. As you see, American Fork's going to come out here on the 1-yard line, and like you said, JT, they can't put the knee down. They have to do something here to try and get either some yards or run some time off the clock.
Calamity, chaos, and conundrums all have been present in the first half, as we're going to see, I believe, American Fork take the time out, but they didn't have a timeout, so I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, not entirely sure what the stop was. Either way, we're about ready to go here. So they're going to officially be on the 1 or 2, hard to say right now. Story under center, Batmuli Talo right over the center. Up the middle, Erdley able to escape. And we'll see if Lone Peak opts to use that final timeout. Doesn't look like they're going to. So American Fork able to get out of it and avoid a disastrous end to the first half. And they're able to lead it 14-7. Your first half thoughts, Brian Brown.
A great game, very competitive. Thought that it was a great response by Lone Peak. Get points on the board, stay in the fight after the early miscues on the first series. For American Fork, they're a team that looks like they're coming off a huge victory off against Lehigh, another rival that just doesn't have everything firing the way that it normally does. Some discombobulation when Lone Peak's had them spread out a little bit, and offensively we saw the last couple series just very uncharacteristic for the Cavemen. So they're going to go into halftime with a 14-7 lead, JT, which you'll take a lead every single time, especially coming back when you get the ball to start the third quarter. But for American Fork, uncharacteristic. For Lone Peak, great job keeping it close, staying in the fight, giving yourself an opportunity in the second half.
A special teams miscue cost the Knights early, allowed American Fork to score the first touchdown. Then Lone Peak with a strong response on a long touchdown drive, and American Fork met them right back. A long drive of their own. In the second quarter, a defensive bout back and forth. 14-7, we leave you at the half. We'll be back in... Right now the scoreboard showing 20 minutes. We'll see if it sticks that way. Usually only 15, but might be 20 minutes. But once again, your score at the break, 14-7. American Fork leads Lone Peak. You're watching Lone Peak football on the Rewind Sports Network on KSLSports.com. Brought to you by Heidemann and Associates and presented by G2G Bar. Welcome back in to Knights Field, where the undefeated American Fork Cavemen lead Lone Peak 14-7. JT Wisterstill and Brian Brown with you. The score may be 14-7, but man, this thing's really close to being tied, and what a great game we have brewing here on KSL Sports Rewind.
Well, JT, depending on what side of the fence you stand on in this game, the game should be tied, right? As one of the closing plays before the half, Trey Robinson apparently stepped out of bounds on his way to the end zone, forced Lone Peak into a 4th and goal. After a couple timeouts, they weren't able to get the 4th down conversion. American Fork gets the ball back, runs the clock out, and now the Cavemen will start out with the ball in the third quarter.
Lone Peak launches it deep. It will be returnable. Bobbled for a moment, and then luckily it ends up being a touchback, because I think Lone Peak would have been able to down that inside the 5. And American Fork making their way back out. They made it look so easy on their first drive, Brian, marching down the field. A couple of big passes from Story, strong runs from Erdley, finished it off in the end zone. But then we really saw Lone Peak respond. What do you think the second half adjustments are going to be for the Knights?
Really, there's not going to be any adjustments. If I'm being honest with you, JT, it's continuing to do what you did for the bulk of the first half and not what you did on the very first series, right? As they went 3 and out, had a punt go awry, and that's really what gave American Fork the deciding touchdown in this game right now.
Story, quick throw to get him settled in, looks to Jet Nelson, who gets about 8 on.
Nice job to get the ball to the outside. I think we were talking about making adjustments. Really, it was American Fork that needs to try and get something going laterally to open up that run game a little bit more. Jacob Erdley is such a tremendous downhill runner, but you force him outside the tackles, try to make him be evasive, and that can negate his strength.
2nd and 3 from the 27. Erdley, another strong run as he picks up where he left off in many ways in to begin the second half.
Yes, and that's really what American Fork has to do, is they need to get this defense loosened up, and you do that by spreading them out as much as you can. Make them cover all angles of the field. It's not just 100 yards. You want them going 50 yards, sideline to sideline as well.
1st and 10 for Story, now on the 32. Lone Peak with 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers. They bring a blitz, and they are able to make the stop. That time coming in was Junior Tahi.
And Tahi makes the stop, but they're running at Bot and Mulatalo. We weren't sure how much Bot was going to play tonight, but it doesn't matter how much he plays, JT, because he's such an impact player. He ran right at him, and he stuffed that one up, allowed his teammates to make the tackle.
The stout sophomore has already made an impact early in this one. 2nd and 8 off the gain of 2. Story and the Cavemen look back to the sideline. We saw Lone Peak really load up the box early on in the first half. Now only 8 bodies in there, 7 bodies, but they've still been potent. Story looking to step up in the pocket, take a shot, and it's intercepted! The Knights with the pick across the 40. Lone Peak down the right side and taken down inside the 30 after the interception was Jaden Mayberry.
We'll talk about a lights-out play for the Knights here, as it is a dark mode game. Just a great job by that defense, smothering the pocket. Dylan Story tries to find the receiver. Nothing doing as Nawahide steps in front of it, and he's off for the return. And this puts the Knights in great field possession. See if they take your shot right off the bat here, JT.
Gabriel Tom and Brooks Wild both with Staley in the backfield as this drive starts at the 22. Staley fakes it to Tom, wants to take that shot deep. Great coverage on the outside that time for American Fork was Justin Borgias.
Yeah, Coach Trowbridge and I on the same page there. I wanted the shot as well. You saw the momentum, the excitement on the sidelines. Just a great play. You had the rush, you had the coverage, you got the turnover. Now it's 2nd down and 10. If you're Lone Peak, take a deep breath, try and get something going here. They're going to huddle up. Nope. They're going to fake the huddle. They got me.
It was actually Bourgeois on the stop, misspoke earlier. 2nd and 10. Staley gives to Wild. Oh, Staley kept it. Fooled out the Cavemen defense, but man, the athleticism to close quickly that time. Who else but Davis Andrews?
Yeah, Davis Andrews just flies downfield. You can see why he's such a I've said this too many times on the broadcast. He's just an athlete. A great football player as well, instinctual. Gets there before Staley can get the corner, and Staley's got that long strider. That he's 6'5". He's a big kid. And with an athlete like Davis Andrews bearing down on you, there's just not a lot of space to operate in. And now you're 3rd and long here. Options are limited if you're Lone Peak.
3rd and long, not a comfortable position. Although last time we saw them in 3rd and long, they nearly had a 20-yard touchdown.
One comfortable position is having Trey Robinson on the field, that's for sure.
Cavemen bring the blitz. Staley backpedals, holds on, swung down. American Fork with the sack. Bringing the down, Staley was Josh Andrus. Number 9, Tyson Eggett, actually.
Yeah, Eggett comes from the linebacker position there. Such a versatile player. He's a big, bruising athlete. He gets in the backfield so quickly on that one. Staley just really didn't have any options. Takes the sack. Lone Peak will get an opportunity here to field goal. And there is a bit of a wind whipping up here, JT. Looks like it's going from north to south to me, but it is kind of swirling a little bit.
Connors has hit from 47 before. That's exactly what this one would be. Connors, it doesn't even get off the ground, really. Ends up going all the way to the end zone. Ends up being picked up on the one. Davis Andrews going to try to make something out of nothing. You mentioned what an athletic player he is, and he will be taken down, but it doesn't matter. What a stop by the American Fork defense.
It just didn't have anything going from the get-go on that field goal try, JT, and like you said, a great stop for American Fork on that one is Lone Peak had him kind of scrambling there, and then a great job by the defense on third down, leads to the stop on fourth down. Lone Peak walks away from a great drive with no points, and now they're up for their second opportunity against this Cavemen offense, who's inside their own 15.
14-7, American Fork back at it. Story threw an interception the last time we saw him. We'll see how he responds. Story rolling out to the right, launches one deep, and the American Fork receiver, I believe it was Nelson, just has to turn to a defensive back and knock it down.
Tough throw from Dylan Story. He's rolling to his right, and we see so many NFL quarterbacks can generate that live arm action. Dylan Story's just not there yet. I don't know if he ever will be. And Dylan, listen, you're like 99% of the population who can't do that. So it's not a critique, but you can see the ball floats on him a little bit. And like you said, Nelson becomes a defender on that in essence.
Going back to that interception, this is a Lone Peak team that against Highland in their road game out in Arizona, they had 4 pick sixes. That's a state record in a single game. Really impressive stuff by this Lone Peak defense. Looking to respond here. The quick throw is caught. Making the grab for the Cavemen that time is Mason Hollum.
And we haven't seen a lot of him so far this game. Really haven't seen a lot in the pass game at all from American Fork. Usually they do a lot of different things with a lot of different receivers. We talk about Nelson and Davis Andrews, but it's also Andrus, the tight end, and Holler as well. And now as they're on third and about 5, JT, not sure what we're going to see from American Fork.
Story off his first completion of the second half, fakes to Eardley. They try to set up the screen, and it falls incomplete. Good pressure applied that time for the Knights. And American Fork going to be forced to punt. They had all the momentum after the stop, and then the missed field goal by Lone Peak, and they're going to give the ball back right away.
Yeah, it tried to do too much on that one, right? You try to fake the play action, then you're trying to go to the screen, and this is a well-coached Lone Peak defense. It's a team that's 6 games into the season, JT. They're getting more experience at sniffing out those fakes. For American Fork, it was 3rd and 5. Maybe go with something a little bit simpler next time. Now Lone Peak gets the ball back, and it looks like it's going to be great field position.
It will be fantastic field position as that punt. Oh, you can see the coaching staff is irate of where they believe the ball went out of bounds, and actually we'll see the ref start to walk forward a little bit. So a nice opportunity for Lone Peak, but they did squander the last one. What is the key for a successful Knights drive as they hope to tie this one up, Brian?
I think the biggest thing is don't stall out when you get into your opponent's territory, and I chuckle a little bit, but they had the ball going, and then, you know, Staley calls his own number, or they call the QB run, and that doesn't get very many yards, and then you have 2 incompletions, and that's pretty much it. So I think if you're Lone Peak, maybe try to sustain a drive a little bit here. Hand the ball off to Wild a little bit. He did a good job early in the first half. See if he can do it here.
14-7 with 8:12 to go. Staley drops, throws to Wild. American Fork all over it. The physical tackle by Waki Fuilongi.
Yeah, Fuilongi, one of my favorite defensive linemen here in the state, does such a great job. He's a bit of an undersized player comparatively, which, I mean, that's not really a fair thing to say to Waki because there's so many big defensive linemen in this state, but he does such a good job playing everything. And then tonight playing on the outside, his buddy on the inside, Orion. I call them 2 tons of fun because they are so much fun to watch, JT. And Waki able to sniff that one out on the swing past the Wild.
2nd and 13 now off the loss of 3. Staley, 4-man rush, gets it away, high throw, Robinson! Oh, it's broken up at the last second. Great coverage by Zane Edwards.
They've left Trey Robinson up there to go get the ball a lot, and you see Edwards making the adjustment, able to knock the ball loose, and Trey Robinson comes up a little bit gimpy on that one, and just you don't want to leave your wide receivers having to go up high too often, JT. It just leads to a lot of problems. So on 3rd and long here, Staley's really going to have to be a guy and step up.
Chris Bussing, the DC for American Fork, with a really strong game plan tonight. American Fork defensively only surrendered that 1 touchdown since they've been lights out. 3rd and long, Staley with time, has a man, and he'll be dragged just short of the first down. It looks like he'll be 1 yard short, in fact, and the grab made by Jay Sean Mayberry.
Nice job to jump on the football there as the ball pops out, and then previously a great job by the offensive line there to pick up the stunt. We talked about Connor Pay earlier in the game. He does a nice job sliding out, providing the blindside protection there for Staley, and it's not going to be a first down.
Yeah, 4th down.
The Knights are going to go up and go for it here.
Yeah, Staley already on it. Going to try the QB sneak. It'll be close. Oh, it looks like the spot is going to give him the first. Nice push by the interior of the Knights offensive line.
Savvy coaching there from Lone Peak as they got him up and on the line of scrimmage and allowed that giant Lone Peak offensive line to push American Fork back. We got guys pointing in both directions.
Yeah,
so
originally, one of our officials originally was way in front of the sticks and then backed up. Now I think we're gonna have a measurement up here. Wow, Brian, it was close based on Staley initially stood up, kept the legs driving, fought for it. It looked like for our angle he got it. We saw one of the officials clearly move past the sticks on the far side of the field from where our broadcast angle is currently at. So big decision here. Tough call, and I'm very curious to see, because we haven't even seen an initial ruling. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah, JT, it was, a questionable situation, I think. And once the officials started debating, I think that was going to lead to the chains coming out. So we'll get an official measurement here, find out whether or not Lone Peak gets the first down.
See the crews lining up. Great student sections on hand for both sides. One of them is about to erupt with joy. The other, lots of groans, and wait for the ball to be put down. They're gonna say he's short. Oh, just devastating for the Knights, Brian. And gotta believe Coach Brockbank and his staff are very displeased with that.
Bluebirds definitely coming out, JT, and understandably so. A lot of confusion there from the officiating group initially, and American Fork will take over on downs here for their 3rd drive of the 3rd quarter already. A very fast-paced game. Neither team able to really establish anything permanent, but more than anything, this Lone Peak defense has done a very good job of limiting an American Fork offense that really hasn't been limited all year.
Fui Longy doing a good job, as well as the rest of the Cavemen defensive front, to force that 4th and short stop. Story to Erdley. Lone Peak all over it. They'll bring down the physical back for a loss of 2 or 3 yards.
Trying to get your all-region, all-state candidate running back involved in this game. They're doing a great job of opening up holes early on, but spreading things out against this Lone Peak defense is always a risky affair, especially when you're running to the Bot Mulutalo side of the field.
2nd and 13. That was the exact same position we just saw Lone Peak in. Fake to Erdley. Story with time. Slings it. Nelson makes the grab short of the sticks. It'll set up 3rd and short.
We haven't heard a lot from Jet Nelson all game long. That's a big conversion there in the sense that they get the catch, and they get almost 10 yards on that one, JT. So not enough for the first down after the initial loss, but they'll be 3rd and short here with a good opportunity to pick up a first down and finally get a drive going.
Lone Peak's defense has been really strong since that early American Fork drive. Looking to make the 3rd down stop. Erdley charges ahead and moves the chains.
That's really where Erdley does his best work. Inside the tackles, finding those creases. He's so good downhill as he easily gets the first down there. And listen, Lone Peak's defense, nothing has been easy for the Cavemen up until that point, but you're seeing his defense has been out there a lot already, JT. It would really help them to get off the field if they can stop American Fork on this 2nd set of downs. You're giving up a little bit of field position, but the quicker you can get off and get the ball back in your offense's hand, the better it'll be.
1st and 10 from the 37. Story fakes to Eardley, wants Andrews. Andrews makes the grab. Tough coverage on the outside before he's brought down there by Charles Rubel.
He's dropped by C.J. Rubel.
Yeah, nice job by Rubel there to make the tackle. Bit of a looping throw over there. And
Andrews shaking up.
Yeah, hobbling off the field here. And he looks like he's in a bit of pain there, JT, as he comes off very slowly.
Yeah, some of you who may have just joined our game may be a little surprised at, the undefeated team and the 2-4 team in a close one. Well, that's not doing credit to this Lone Peak team and how tough they've been. Right after this play, I'll tell you a little bit more about their schedule. Story fakes to Eardley. Has Andrews. Throws it. Looked deeper, and it was nearly intercepted. How about Jaden Mayberry? He broke it up, but nearly picked it off.
Yeah, well, 2 already got a pick. Might as well get number 1 involved on that, and was Mayberry gets his hands on it, JT. And you mentioned as we go into 3rd down, it's been a strong schedule for Lone Peak.
Yeah, they nearly beat Timpview 31-28. They had a late comeback against Corner Canyon where even that one got testy late. And against Pleasant Grove, who's also undefeated, 24-19. They still got games against Skyridge and Lehigh and Westlake, but this is a team capable of getting hot and making noise come playoff time. 3rd and 5 with 4:53 to go. Story given a pocket, thinking about running forward, throws to Eardley. I think Story might have been past the line.
I don't know if he was past the line, JT, but this one looks like it's in the area of holding to me, as there was a Lone Peak defender that found his way to the turf. Assisted, maybe we'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one's going to come back, unfortunately, for American Fork, as that was a great job of Story to evade the pressure and get the ball out to Eardley in the flat. But, again, that penalty will be, I believe, 10 yards either from the line of scrimmage. Okay.
Yeah. Good awareness by you to correct me on that one. Story, he was so frustrated after I thought maybe it stepped over. He's just had a good enough IQ to also notice and see that his offensive line had held as soon. Really tough break that time. Sets up 3rd and 14. Lone Peak's defense has continued to be lights out. If it wasn't for the punting error, this one would be tied. Story, 4-man rush. Steps up, looks downfield, slings it. Andrews hauls it in, but is met instantly as the Knights drive him back, jousting him.
Yeah, there wasn't much of a joust on that one. It was all the Knights secondary driving Davis Edwards back, Davis Andrews back. And on that one, that's going to be a great stop for this Lone Peak defense. I want to give a shout out to Tegan Talley, who did a great job from his defensive end position, applying pressure throughout the course of that series. Part of the reason why they were able to play such a deep coverage and contain the pass.
Lott looks to boom it. See the wind get it once again a little bit as it takes a bounce backwards. Good job by the Cavemen, who quickly dive on top of it.
Yeah, also shout out the umpire there, I believe, who did a good job of dodging the football as well. Not a great punt. And as we mentioned at the start of the 3rd quarter, JT, a bit of wind picking up here.
Lone Peak football on the Rewind Sports Network on KSLSports.com is brought to you by Heidemann and Associates and presented by G2G Bar. Heidemann Associates is a flat-rate law firm that is completely focused on you. Get a free consultation by calling 801-472-7742 or go to utah.law to find the office nearest you. Knights back on the field. Staley starting it from his own 42. Pressure breaks in. Jensen takes him down, forces the fumble. Austin Pay has to jump onto it.
Just a great job by Jensen applying the pressure. Staley did not feel it coming, see it coming at all. A nice job by Austin Pay to jump on it. I believe I called Austin Connor earlier. I apologize, Austin.
You got an Adam Connors out there. I think it's understandable. How about this defensive battle going on, Brian, right now? Both these teams really bringing it.
Well, we expected the defenses to be great. I think what's really surprised me is so early on the offenses were so efficient, JT, and now we've seen it really regress, and neither one able to sustain a drive here.
2nd and 24 from the 28 of the Knights. 3:07 to go. Staley, quick throw to Robinson. They try to get him involved, and he's unable to haul it in.
Yeah, and then just not able to reel that one in, like you said. Looked like it maybe bounced off of his hands or his shoulder pads. Hard to say, JT, on that one, but 3rd and very long now for Lone Peak here, and Not a lot of plays in the playbook for 3rd and 24, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, 3rd and forever, basically.
For the Knights.
Staley looking to make something happen. Last time he was in 3rd and 20 plus. They did nearly get a first down. We'll see what Staley's able to do here. The quick throw, Robinson on the outside. Does a good job scampering down the sideline, but was pushed out of bounds. Still going to be 3rd and long. Knights are going to be forced upon it.
Well, he's just so good at evading defenders, and once he does, so quick down the sideline. If you don't have the unfortunate fumble on first down, he really would have given you a great opportunity to pick that one up, JT. Again, 3rd and out for Lone Peak. Not the situation that they want to be in, down 14-7. However, after the early miscue, the punting game has been fantastic for the Knights.
It would make Moose Bingham, proud, and that's for sure.
Not just Moose, making me proud too.
And right on cue, a booming shot. It's going to bounce out of bounds. And, I just messed up Moose Bingham's name. You know what that means, Brian? I'm very cold. I'm a little shaken up right now. And, I probably wouldn't be as cold if I had Igloo Outfitters because they're the coziest wearable sleeping bag, and they have you covered during those chilly days and nights. Worry no more about the weather and watch your favorite team in comfort with Igloo Outfitters. Go to igloooutfitters.com and enter the code REWIND for $20 off. Never miss the moments. Also presented by G2G, helping busy people eat well when they're on the go. Fresh, healthy, and delicious. When you eat one, you'll know. American Fork with their 4th drive now of the 3rd quarter.
Big defense is ready to G2G.
Story gives to Eardley. Big gaping hole, but quickly closing it. Multiple Knights, but still Eardley gains 5.
That's something that we haven't seen when it comes to Jacob Eardley a lot this season, is the inability to run over defenders. And I think it speaks to 2 things. One, the coaching of this Lone Peak defense and coach and defensive coordinator Ryan Denny, but also the way that they want to gang tackle him. They clearly have done their work and watched the film, know what they needed to do coming into this game.
2 minutes to go in the 3rd. Story fakes to Eardley. The quick throw, and met quickly that time on the outside. American Fork, the pass catcher there was Jacob Dean.
Pass is complete to Jacob Dean.
Dean a little bit speedier, shiftier, trying to do anything they can to get out on the edges is American Fork right now. Again, Lone Peak has done such a good job of bottling up the run game here tonight, JT.
Story sensational for so much of the season. Just last week, 349 yards. He had a 600-yard game passing, and he's had 3 games over 100 yards passing, too. We'll see what he has on 3rd down, 3rd and 1. Eardley wrapped up. He won't get there. For Lone Peak, stepping up, making the stop was Tegan Towle.
I talked about Tegan Towle in the rush game, or the pass rush last series. You see him now in the run game, providing the support. Number 13, doing work out there with the pink gloves. Let him know.
Just so impressed once again with the defenses for both sides, whether you're talking about Ryan Denny for Lone Peak and then, of course, Chris Bussing for American Fork. We've been scoreless for a long time because of the strong play by the Cavemen and Knights defenses. This low punt takes a bounce before going out, and another strong starting position for the Knights in a moment. Want to tell you a little bit more about G2G. G2G makes fresh, healthy, and delicious grab-and-eat food for busy people. With all natural ingredients, no preservatives, and plenty of protein, G2G bars are perfect for anyone who needs a quick, tasty, and nutritious boost. The experts who developed the perfect G2 bars are passionate about nutrition, and they do a great job understanding that the world's healthiest bars are worthless if they taste like cardboard. That's why you'll always find G2 bars in a refrigerator section made with fresh, familiar ingredients crafted in delicious combinations that make it fun and easy to eat healthy, no matter where your busy life takes you. Staley from the 43, Wild on the ground, makes a move and makes a run.
About time that we saw Brooks Wild get back to what he does best, running inside those tackles, getting behind the big boys. Gets a big gain on first down, JT. That'll put him at 2nd and about 4, I'd say. Well, they're going to say 2nd and 3 over the PA, so we'll go with it.
Wild with his biggest play since he had that big pass on the early Knights touchdown drive on 3rd down. In fact, looks like we might have the quarter about to expire. And they're going to run one more play. Staley, the throw to the outside. Cavemen were there, but shifty moves to dive forward and set up a 3rd and short opportunity by Logan Hofhines. That will do it. The 3rd quarter is through. The 4th quarter between the Knights and Cavemen up next on KSL Sports Rewind. 4th quarter action about to begin on KSL Sports Rewind. It's been a great one between the Knights and Cavemen, and we're excited to bring you the conclusion of it here shortly. What are you looking to see in this 4th quarter? Lone Peak making their way back out. 12 minutes to go here in the 4th quarter. Lone Peak 3rd and 1. Staley, Wild on the ground, gets the 1st down. And as Lone Peak is able to move the chains, Brian, I'm curious, what are you most looking to see for both teams to be in the 4th quarter?
Well, it's going to be a dogfight, and it was fitting that they played great balls of fire between the 3rd and 4th quarters here. Is you're going to have that kind of affair. 2 great teams going at it, trying to find an edge. And JT, I think really right now, Lone Peak has the momentum going in their favor. Defense is playing great. Offense is going downhill right now with a chance to score and even this one up as it is 14-7 here in the 4th quarter.
American Fork, they scored 60 last week against Lehigh. And in the 3rd, right, just overall in the game, but there we saw the punt. Robinson to the outside. And another nice gain on 1st down. Lone Peak starting to get going.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Zane Edwards, one of the better defensive backs in the state. That is such a tough matchup, one-on-one coverage against Trey Robinson. And you see it right there. He's able to get the 1st down, able to drag him. And whether it's getting loose and shake a defender, speed past them, or drag them for the 1st down, Robinson is just putting on a show tonight.
Mentioned those 4 pick sixes for Lone Peak against Highland. Even last week, they had an interception and a big 95-yard kickoff return from Trey Robinson. The special teams, the defenses have been doing their parts for the Knights, and now it's time for the offense to step up with 11:18 to go. Off the 1st down, they give it to Wild. Wild runs hard, gains 3.
About sums it up with that one as he was wilding out of the backfield and then ran into the teeth of that American Fork defense. And we mentioned Ryan Takai and Waki Fuilongi. You don't want to run into 2 tons of fun because they ain't want none.
What's been the difference for Lone Peak on this drive?
I think they've gotten a little bit more into the run game and found some success there. And really the big difference is the completion of Trey Robinson. That was a big play that moved the ball down the field.
Both defenses have been on the field a lot. Got to wonder if they'll start wearing down. Staley wants Robinson deep. He made the grab. Was he in bounds? He was not.
Highlight level. That would have been a top 5 for sure type grab. Just a few yards out of bounds on that one. And boy, what a beautiful ball by Staley. Just a little too much on it. But man, compose in the pocket, find the right guy. If you're American Fork, I know it's cold out, JT, but you're probably wiping the sweat off your brow.
10:29 to go in this one. 3rd and 8 for Lone Peak. Got to imagine they're going to go for it on 4th if it comes to it with the level their defense has competed at. Staley, 3-man rush. He's got time. Wants Robinson, throws it too high.
Yeah, that's a tough throw. Staley kind of, you can tell by his reaction, just he realizes that's one that he wishes he could do over again because it's one of those layered throws that you have to try and drop in there into your target. And it looks like Lone Peak is going to try and kick a field goal here. And I'm going to be honest with you, JT, this one might get a little risky because the wind is whipping pretty good. So they are kicking into the teeth of the wind here from the near hash.
The wind has been beating me up all game long. We'll see what it does to this ball. Connors, the field goal, nearly blocked. It's up. It's good. Lone Peak scores the first touchdown, or excuse me, the first field goal of the second half. The Knights, 10-14, the difference. You're watching KSL Sports Rewind. Lone Peak makes it 14-3 on, or excuse me, 14-10 on KSL Sports Rewind. And it's been a fun fourth quarter so far, Brian, and I'm excited to see how it's going to finish up. Lone Peak sending it back to American Fork now. Low kick. Gonna be, that was risky. Man, a Caveman just got blasted in the head. You hate to see that. Thankfully, he's okay. Tough, but although we might have the player. No, the player jumped on the ball. He's all right, too. But nearly a disastrous sequence that time for American Fork, but able to jump on the ball at the last second that time was Lucas Segura.
Yeah, just one of those situations where the ball gets caught in the wind on that one, JT, and it takes a weird path to get there, and just luckily for the Cavemen, they're able to secure the ball. They'll start on about their 20-yard line. And the officials are going to take a timeout and come talk with Coach Brockbank, I believe, on this one.
Well, while they do, we want to remind you that Lone Peak Football on the Rewind Sports Network on KSLSports.com is brought to you by Heidemann & Associates and presented by G2G Bar. Heidemann & Associates is a flat-rate law firm that is completely focused on you. Get a free consultation by calling 801-472-7742 or go to Utah Law to find the office nearest you. Also,
the Lone Peak Football is G2G. G2D makes fresh, healthy, and delicious grab-and-eat food for busy people with all natural ingredients, no preservatives, and plenty of protein. G2G bars are perfect for anyone who needs a quick, tasty, and nutritious boost. Also, thanks to doTERRA, Crumble Cookies, Tire Factory Point S, and Ideal Kitchen and Bath for sponsoring Lone Peak Football.
Story starts on his own, Story just buried. Staley now with it, play action. Robinson gets it, makes one. Defender nearly missed, but as he's taken down, he secures the first down.
He does, just like Tech 9, Tile Ram, Black Desert, Legacy Power, and Walmart have secured Lone Peak Football. Trey Robinson secures a first down.
And with Walmart, you can save money and live better. I had to say it, Brian. I had to.
I can see the excitement on your face, Gigi, to get that one in there. It's kind of the same excitement I have watching Trey Robinson. I can relate.
He has been sensational all season long. Great to see him start getting going in the second half after he had a strong start in this game. Wild breaks a tackle, lowers the shoulder. He's dragged down, but a strong gain on first down.
Yeah, nice job by Brooks Wild to see the defender plant and cut upfield. He actually runs into contact there, but I think it got him more yards than if he tried to get out to the side. He's able to get behind his pads and run through the defender. It gives him 2nd and 5, JT, and for Lone Peak, they've been much, much more effective in these 2nd and short, 2nd and average situations.
Robinson once again at the bottom of your screen, matched up with Zane Edwards. It's been a good back-and-forth battle all night. Staley on the play action, wants Robinson. It's batted down at the line.
And nice job by number 2 there for American Fork.
Yeah,
Watts. I haven't called his name for a little bit there, but he's able to get his hands on the ball. That defensive line for American Fork needs to step up right here and make a play. Lone Peak is still close. Maybe not. I was going to say they're close to being in field goal position. Math is hard for me on the fly. It's hard regardless. But here on 3rd and 5, that defensive line really needs to get into the backfield and apply some pressure for Staley, because we've seen when he's got a clean pocket, he can deliver the ball.
3rd and 5, American Fork brings pressure. It breaks in for a moment. Staley swung down. Eggett, the first one in on the huge sack for the Cavemen.
Well, it's the announcer's blessing for the American Fork defense. It's the curse if you're the Lone Peak Knights, right? Eggett does a great job bullying into the backfield and just takes Staley down with a big, big loss. Unfortunately, on 4th down, it's going to be too far. Not even close enough for Lone Peak to consider going for it. And they're going to punt, and again, JT, they're going to punt into this wind, which it has picked up substantially up here in the booth and on the field.
Snap is clean, so is the punt. Wilkinson needs to call for a fair catch. He does so as he basically just took a knee at the 22. Brian, you and I have watched this American Fork offense soar all season long, but tonight, and especially since the first quarter, they've really been shut down. What's the key for them to get going, and what has Lone Peak been doing so well?
The Marine Corps aren't the only ones that lost one of their Jets, as American Fork has lost one of their best receivers in Jet Nelson throughout the course of the night. I believe he only has 1 or 2 catches, JT, but we've seen him be so effective at stretching the field. For American Fork, I think they need to get a big play here early on in this drive, stretch that field, loosen up that defense, and then they can do what they do best, which is pound the rock with Jacob Erdley.
7:52, American Fork leads. Got to imagine they'd love to grind out some time on the clock, but they start through the air to Story. Erdley across the 20, makes a man miss, and gets the first down.
That might be the best opportunity he's had to gain yards, and it's through the passing game. Nice job throwing it out to the sideline, letting him get into the open field, do some damage against that secondary, and you can see he's not a huge running back, JT, but he's a load to bring down.
Talking to Coach Brockbank before the game, wasn't sure how much Bot Mulitalo we've seen, but he's been too good to keep off the field tonight. Back in the game now with 7:27 to go, 1st and 10 from the 28. Story looks to Erdley, hesitates, he doesn't have time to do so. Mulitalo getting home.
Bot heard you, and Bot doesn't care how many plays he's going to get. He's going to make the most out of all of them. He corrals Dylan Story, and the end of that chapter is a sack for Bot Mulitalo.
Think about some of the top programs in the state. Bingham, Lone Peak, Bot with a combined 5 sacks against those 2 opponents. He's been so impressive off the edge.
Yeah, the only thing that's really interrupted him all year, JT, is an injury, and you can see why he is so valuable to this Lone Peak defense. And they lost 2 critical players, Jackson Blake, Bot Mulitalo. It really has impacted them, but you see at full strength defensively tonight, they've been superb.
2nd and 15, Story's been roughed up. Let's see how he responds. Little bit of time, gets tripped up, and then brought down. Bot, one of the defenders in, but also got to give credit for Lone Peak that time to Junior Tahi, who came up from the linebacker spot to make the stop.
Yeah, Tahi was in there. We see Tally in there as well. Tegan doing a nice job, even getting good push from the big boys in the middle there who don't get a lot of love. And now it's 3rd and very long for this American Fork offense. 3rd and 13. They're going to need to find something in the pattern to convert this one.
6:04 to go. Lone Peak looking to get the ball back. Blitz up the middle. It's picked up. Story, Andrews, it's intercepted! A pick taken away that time and into the end zone for the leading touchdown by Matthias Nawahine.
Matthias Nawahine saw it the whole way, stares down the ball. When his moment comes, he's there to capitalize, and he's off to the races for a touchdown. And it is pandemonium here at Knight Stadium, JT, as Lone Peak takes the lead 16-14 pending a PAT.
Just the 4th interception of the season for Story. He came into this one with only 2. It's been picked off twice tonight. The devastating pick 6 leads to American Fork trailing 17-14 on KSL Sports Rewind.
Lone Peak football on the Rewind Sports Network on KSLSports.com. Brought to you by Heidemann and Associates and presented by G2G Bar. Heidemann and Associates is a flat rate law firm that is completely focused on you. Get a free consultation by calling 801-472-7742 or go to utah.law to find the office nearest you. No, that penalty on the field is not for me fumbling that read, JT. Looks like we have an offsides, I think. Yeah, procedure against Lone Peak, which you don't often see on the kickoff. Just a small mistake, but after the excitement of the interception return for a touchdown here, I think we can let it slide. It is pandemonium in the stands here at Knight Stadium.
Lone Peak elated that they have the 17-14 lead, but as much as American Fork's offense has struggled throughout the game, with 5:50 to go, all they need is a field goal to potentially force overtime in this one, and of course, a touchdown to take the lead. Mention the special teams. This is a team that had 4 pick sixes, a state record in a single game against Highland just 2 weeks ago. Had an interception last week too, and the timely pick 6 gives them the lead. Connors going to boot it from the 35 now after the penalty. It's returnable for the Cavemen, but nowhere to go. Once again, Wilkinson taken down quickly.
Yeah, that ball hung up in the air, allowed the coverage team to get downfield plenty quick, and while American Fork will start with the ball on their own 29-yard line, there was nothing doing on that return. Great job by a fired-up Lone Peak team right now. You can smell the opportunity for an upset, JT. You can feel it in the air. That's not just a breeze. It's an upset brewing.
American Fork has beaten Roy, Orem, West, Bingham, Lehigh. Some of the top teams in the state, but in danger of losing to Lone Peak tonight. Story, quick throw. Nelson makes the grab. Jet Nelson taken off.
There it is. We've been looking for it all night. The missing Jet. Great response there for American Fork. They catch him on the slant route. Uses that big body and that speed to get the ball into the basket and advances it across the 50-yard line into Lone Peak territory. You can see Lone Peak defense immediately hands on hips, JT, as even though they got the interception return, they've been out there for a long time.
1st and 10 from the 44 of the Knights. Story wants it deep. It's intercepted again. This time picking it off is Jaden Mayberry.
Boy, it's a dark mode game here for homecoming, but there are dark skies everywhere in that Lone Peak secondary. They are dynamite tonight, getting the interceptions. Nice job by, I believe it's Jaden Mayberry on that one, getting the pick. And there's just interceptions all around. Now, Wahine, I believe, has 2. Mayberry has 1 as well. Great job by that secondary to go get balls.
The secondary for Lone Peak tonight will definitely be knighted after this performance, Brian.
Chef's kiss, my man.
1st and 10. And Wild wrapped up instantly, taking down Blake Jensen. Once again makes the play behind the line of scrimmage.
Boy, we talk about high school football being such a game of momentum, JT. Something that's been so impressive tonight has been the response by both sides of the ball for both teams, right? The early punt mishandle from Lone Peak put them down in a hole, 7-0. So what does the offense do? They respond right after that and go get a touchdown. See right here, American Fork continuing this trend of each team throwing those metaphorical punches, and Cavemen with a big stop and a loss there.
Story has been one of the top quarterbacks through 6 games so far this season, but Lone Peak has forced him to turn it over a couple times tonight. Staley on the draw. We saw this earlier, and he's able to gain 8 yards. Timeout American Fork with 4:20 to go. Lone Peak looking at lights out on their way to the potential upset victory. Stay with us on KSL Sports Rewind. Lone Peak and American Fork battling it out here. It'll be 3rd and 8. Brian, what are you doing here if you're the Knights?
Well, you're less than 5 minutes left. You really need to get a first down here, so I'm looking to Trey Robinson. What a surprise to see if we can get a completion.
Staley. And it's dropped. He tried to get it quickly there to Seth Haskett, but the Knights off the turnover are going to be forced to give it back quickly, and still 4:16 to go, and American Fork with 2 timeouts.
Yeah, you can see the frustration. Haskins knew he had it. He did the classic make a move before you actually had the ball secured. There was some yardage to gain there, and I think you could feel it. You know, you can see the frustration as he comes off the field there. Just wishes he could have that one back, and Lone Peak going to have to punt this one away, JT, and ask their defense to stop it one more time.
It's nearly blocked. I'm not sure how he got that one off, but he did. And the Knights will be able to down it inside the 35 as American Fork is set to take the field. Really quick, want to give a shout out. It is my mom's birthday. She is my biggest fan, watches everything. I would not be able to do this or just do what I do without her. So happy birthday, Kelly Wistersill. Thank you for all you do for me. I love you lots.
Yeah, Kelly Wistersill, definitely one of the best there is. Keeps us well fed. Some of the best cookies in the country. I'll put my stamp of approval on it. Happy birthday, Mama Wistersill. As American Fork comes out here, down 3, JT, with 4:06 to play. They need to get to the other side of the field and at least get an attempt at a field goal.
Story given time. The quick throw to Jet Nelson. Made the grab before he was pushed out of bounds. And good to see Jet really start to get involved in the game plan if you're a Caveman fan.
Yeah, this Lone Peak defense is playing with such confidence right now, JT. You can see as Nelson gets the catch, he gets jostled out of bounds. They're playing with so much swagger after multiple interceptions, and I think best thing you can do if you're American Fork is get the ball into the guys who can make the plays in safe situations, and exactly what they were able to do there.
Story on 2nd and 1. Looks left, wants it all, launches deep. Davis Andrews slightly overthrows him.
And Story just threw that one out there, hoping that Andrews could run underneath it. I tell you what, Jacob Erdley did a monster job of picking up the blitz there. And we've seen this Lone Peak defensive line be in full-blown attack mode here in the second half. They've just been smothering the pocket. Nice job by Erdley to give his quarterback the extra time.
3rd and 1. American Fork's offense has been so potent rushing the ball this season. Erdley has 3 games over 100 yards rushing. They reset the play clock. A lot of time left if you are the Cavemen. Lone Peak loading up with bodies on the line of scrimmage. Story, the quick throw. Andrus makes the grab, gets the first.
Yeah, nice job. Just a simple out route, easy throw. Let Andrus use his big body, shield himself from the defender, get the first down. Clock stops. They'll set the chains, and then American Fork's got plenty of time. In fact, I don't know that they necessarily, it looks like the left tackle there's a little bit offsides. There we go, buddy. I don't know that they need to go no huddle here, JT. I don't think you want to give the ball back to Lone Peak.
Story. Oh, we'll have a false start on American Fork, I believe.
Mistakes in critical situations. Just killer. You work so hard to get that first down, and now you put yourself in the hole. It's still first down, so you still got plenty of opportunities to convert this one, but now you're operating at 1st and 15, and if you're American Fork, all those yards right now are critical.
Lone Peak's defense has been so formidable, but we know what Jet Nelson can do. We know what Davis Andrews can do. We know what Josh Andrus can do, and Story capable of making the big play. 1st and 15 from the 44, but no down and distance is safe with this American Fork offense. Story gets leveled. Ball is out. Cavemen get back on top of it. Erdley makes the grab.
A sigh of, I don't know, even no relief, but just almost exasperation of the Cavemen as they're able to get the ball back. But this is a massive loss, JT, and you said it. Just this fanatical effort from the Lone Peak defensive line is tearing apart this American Fork offensive line. Now they're 2nd and, oh boy, it looks like Draper to me.
2nd and 25. 4-man rush. They bring the blitz to the outside. Erdley can't make the grab. Good pressure applied in tight coverage. The Knights defense continues to level up.
Nice job by number 8, Junior Tahi, coming from the linebacker position to smother that up and give Erdley no opportunity to even catch the ball. Even if he had, he wasn't getting enough yards to put him back to where they need to be, JT. It is 3rd and 25 with 2:24 left.
From the 34, got whistles. I'm not sure what's going on. I didn't see a signal for a timeout.
Timeout. Lone Peak here, it looks like, as the side judge comes in. And take that.
Timeout on the field.
I want to remind everybody watching at home that Lone Peak Football on the Rewind Sports Network on KSLSports.com is brought to you by Heidemann and Associates and presented by G2G Bar. Also presenting Lone Peak Football, doTERRA. doTERRA is a proud sponsor of Lone Peak Football. doTERRA's products help athletes around the world maintain the highest level of health and wellness. Learn more about how you can up your health and wellness game at doTERRA.com.
With only 2:24 to go, got to imagine American Fork are going to want to go for it on fourth down, but got to get a gain on third. 5-man pressure. Cavemen pick it up for a moment. Bob Mulitalo brings down Story right on cue.
That must be why he chose number 0, because there's nothing doing when Bob Mulitalo's rushing the quarterback. A monster sack for the Knights. You talk about being knighted, JT. Bob Mulitalo is the king of this Lone Peak defense right now. Bring him all the finest meats and cheeses in the land.
Timeout Lone Peak. Bob Mulitalo says, fine, I'll do it myself. His third sack of the game. What a performance by one of not just the top players in the state, Brian, one of the top defensive ends in the class of 2026.
Yeah, he's just a sophomore, and you can see the growth even from game 1 to now. He is such a big, strong, physical player, but also the explosion, the ability to just topple over blockers. And that was, I cannot tell you how critical that sack was. Whatever American Fork could have gotten going in that moment was just obliterated by Agent 0, Bob Mulitalo.
It's going to be fourth, and man, it says 33. That's not just fourth and forever. That's big. I mean, hey, that's fourth in North Carolina. Right?
Yeah, it's fourth in an arm punt right now, and you're right, JT. It's a long, long way for American Fork to go. Again, they don't have plays in the playbook for this. Maybe try to do something with a hook and ladder or something downfield where you can get a hitch and pitch. Whatever it is, you can see Lone Peak's defense is 20 yards deep.
Another 5-man pressure. Story looks deep. Andrews can't make the grab. Tight coverage down the field. Doing a good job down the outside was Charles Rubel. And it'll be a turnover on downs as Story in the offense stall. Lone Peak rising up to the occasion. And now just a first down away from clinching the upset win.
They're going to have control of the football as well, JT. And like you said, the opportunity, you can feel it. You can smell it in the air. The brewing upset on that one. American Fork's defense has a tall task. Looks like they only have 2 timeouts left. 1:43 on the clock. They've got to get stops here if they're going to have any chance of winning this game.
The American Fork defense has been stout for so much of tonight. Staley on the draw. Met quickly. And we'll see the timeout used right away as there's not a gain on that run.
Yeah, these timeouts are going to be likely 30-second timeouts. And there's not a lot to talk about if you're American Fork. It's stop the football. Only 5 seconds off the clock because there's now 1:38 left here in the game.
Lone Peak looked like they could be a contender after beating Bingham in the season opener, but then things hadn't gone their way. They started 1-0, since have gone 1-4, but you see now why this team can still get back in the race for Region 3 and potentially make noise come postseason time with one of their best players healthy in Bob Mulitalo. The defense was already dangerous without him, another level with him in the lineup, and you see this offense has made just enough plays tonight, Brian.
Yeah, and you've seen Staley grow as a quarterback this game. There's a couple of plays there that I know he definitely would want back, but you saw some great throws to Trey Robinson. You see right here, they'll likely keep the ball in his hands or else give it to Wild. Simple handoff.
Wild once again wrapped up, drove back, and we'll see another quick timeout by American Fork.
Yeah, again, only 5 seconds off the clock there. Now, American Fork is out of timeouts, JT. So on third down here, it's going to get very – it looks like I can't see what the official is signaling there. Yeah, their last timeout charge. So both teams will huddle up here, get their 60 seconds of, clarifications in at this point. It's basically about, hey, don't do this if you're the offense, and if you're the defense, hey, we got to do this.
You know, Lone Peak students are ready to rush the field, but as much as the American Fork offense hasn't been able to find success in the second half, you're still going to give the ball back to the Cavemen, and potentially what Lone Peak decides to do, if they want to try to kick the field goal or how they want to play this, and we're not sure what that'll be after the third down. There is still time for American Fork to potentially make a comeback.
There will be time on the clock depending on how this third down goes, JT. If you're Lone Peak, the field goal doesn't really do much for you, right? I mean, it does take the lead to 6, right? But it's still going to be a one-possession game.
Lone Peak might be looking to call a timeout. In fact, they will. They wanted to see when American Fork was going to come out, and we saw the Cavemen early on do exactly that in the first half, Brian, and now Lone Peak has to reassess. How are you playing this if you're the Knights?
Yeah, I think the big thing right now is what are you doing if you're Lone Peak with the football? Are you just going to run the ball and try and let the clock tick down and possibly give American Fork that opportunity? Are you going to kick the field goal, right? I think if you're going to try and do something where you're going to burn a little bit of clock, you want to make sure that everybody's on the same page and or that you're getting the ball in the right position if you're going to attempt the field goal. So there's a lot of options on the table. I think when people sit at home, they think, well, that's the obvious call, right? This is why they take the timeouts. This is why they get together and talk about these things to make sure it's all clear, especially as you can see, as you mentioned, JG, the students are near the field getting ready to rush. You can feel the excitement on the sideline. You want to make sure that all of your players are clear on their assignment.
Yeah, stampede of Knights hoping to storm Knights Field, or basically what will act as the castle. They give it to Robinson. Robinson, nowhere to go, and wisely makes sure to go down inbounds. But unfortunately, because it's a loss of like 7 yards, it really backs up if they decided to go for the potential field goal, Brian.
I don't know that they were ever planning to go for the field goal, JT, on that one. And so you're going to see the clock with about 1:15 right now and 26 seconds on the play clock. So that's going to bring the clock down to under a minute here as Lone Peak decides what they want to do, and they may just go for it on fourth down. Well,
could punt it.
Yeah, I think you've got to punt it here, and they've got one timeout left, so they're likely going to run the clock out and then send the punt team out.
American Fork is going to get the ball back with over 45 seconds. We said Lone Peak's ready to rush the field. Their fans believing they've captured what will be their third win of the season, and Lone Peak looks like they're getting ready for what's going to be the thick of Region 3 play. American Fork, one of the contenders for the state championship crown, and had some success in the first quarter. Their first drive of the game looked really strong once we did finally see the Cavemen offense on the field, and it was it was already 6 minutes into the game too. It looked like American Fork was in for another offensive outpouring based on that initial success, but since they've cooled off, and you got to give credit to Coach Ryan Denny for the Lone Peak defense, and just in general Coach Brockbank as well for having this team so ready to play and coming into this one despite the record differential. It didn't matter what happened on the field tonight so far to this point.
Just a nail-biter of a game, back and forth. Great plays on both sides of the ball, JT. Like you said, credit to both staffs. I think American Fork took a few punches that maybe they weren't expecting, and we're going to see Lone Peak tentatively go for it. Maybe a little quick kick action. We'll see.
Staley going to throw it. Looks downfield, and it's caught! Oh my goodness! The Knights call game! It's Jaden Mayberry with the Moss, and thus clinching what will be a Lone Peak win!
What a play, what a throw, what a night here for Lone Peak homecoming as they clinch the first down, and in doing so, clinch a victory here, a much needed win in Region 3, and upset the American Fork Cavemen. Just an incredible game, incredible second half, JT. What a moment.
And the Knights take the field along with their students off the upset of the undefeated American Fork Cavemen. What a performance by Coach Brockbank and his squad. Botmuli Talo gave it all he had. He can't even rush the field right now. What a win for this Lone Peak team. Everyone onto the field, fired up off the performance. The Cavemen couldn't quite get it done late, and Lone Peak wins it. Brian, so many choices you could go for player of the game. I would go with Botmuli Talo for his performance. Who would you look to?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, JT. When it mattered most, Botmuli Talo was the one that they called on to steal this game, and he did it in emphatic fashion. We talk about Dylan Story being one of the better quarterbacks in the state, and he was basically erased for the entirety of the second half because of the pressure of Lone Peak in that front, which was led by Botmuli Talo. But it wasn't just the pass rush, it was also shutting down the run game. As you see these players shake hands at the end, and the Lone Peak fans celebrating a huge win for the Lone Peak Knights tonight.
We said it from the top of the broadcast, do not sleep on Lone Peak. The Knights, so stout. The game started with an errant punt issue that led to the first Cavemen touchdown. Lone Peak responded with a touchdown drive of their own, and then we saw the Cavemen score another touchdown, leading the 14-7 differential. That's what it was for most of the game, but then the defensive grudge match ensued that led to almost no scoring throughout. It actually didn't lead to scoring in the second quarter and third quarter, too. And then late in the game, the field goal by Connors, and, of course, the pick six from Matthias Nawahine. What a win! Lone Peak takes down American Fork. Brian Brown, your final thoughts.
My final thoughts are it was a tremendous game, JT, and I don't want to take anything away from the players who did a tremendous job tonight. Seeing the fight on both sides, I talk about the mental fortitude to respond to punch after punch after punch. But there's another farewell that needs to be had here tonight. It's going to be your last night calling a game for Rewind. Our last night calling games together for now. You never know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
But I just wanted to say thank you for 2 amazing seasons and so many fun memories and great nights. And very fitting that such a improbable, amazing, bombastic game happened on our last broadcast of the year.
It was such a thrilling finish, and it was a thrilling ride with Rewind in general. Thank you again to Dusty Lister and Dane Stewart, Vince Francis for allowing me to have this opportunity, whether it was Moose Bingham, Jake Hatch. I met so many other great people through the Rewind Sports Network too, and Brian, truly consider you a brother, my friend. Love you, man. Thank you for all you've done, and we appreciate all of you for tuning in. There is tons of great high school action still ahead on KSL Sports Rewind. Make sure you check the app, KSLSports.com, and stay with the Red Zone channel. Dusty and Jeff will have you covered there. That will do it for us. Your final from Knightsfield, 17-14. Lone Peak defeats American Fork. For our cameraman Tino, for my partner Brian Brown, I'm JT Wisterstill signing off.